Welcome back. All right, so I want to talk about Patrik Laine. Patrik Laine, it feels like we're kind of at a crossroads again with Laine. So saying that it's the most embarrassing thing for him to have been scratched in a game and all this, but Laine's a fascinating individual. Since the 2016 draft, we've talked about Laine a lot. And really, before the draft, we talked about Laine because he believed he should be the number one draft pick ahead of Austin Matthews. Now, there's been a lot of jokes made about that. I still to this day think it's fine for a player who's going to go number two in the draft to say, you know what, I could be a star, I should go number one, because I don't have a problem with confidence. I don't. Even if it's misguided, I'm still like, you know what, you do you, bro. You just whatever you think. Sure, cool, fine, great. Whether or not I believe you're going to be the biggest star in the history of the game, fine. But if you think you will be, good on you. So for Laine, he came into the league 2016-2017, plays 73 games for the Jets, 36 goals, which was 7th overall in the league, 28 assists, 64 points. So out of that first season, he was very good. And really, it wasn't a matter of whether or not he'd hit 50 goals in his career in a season. It was a matter of how many times, right? And the second season did nothing to make us think that wasn't going to happen. 82 games, 44 goals, 26 assists, 70 points. So, again, that second season really good. He's second in goals scored. No problem, right? And again, with Laine, it looked like, megastar status was here. He'd already have played in an all-star game. So, yeah, he's going to be a star for a long time. 2018, 2019, things get a little bit different. So, 18-19, 82 games, 30 goals, 20 assists, 50 points. January 11th of 2019, I made a video on a goal slump he was in. It was the most bizarre season where he'd have a bunch of goals in 5 or 6 games and then nothing for a while. And it wasn't just that he wasn't scoring, but when he wasn't scoring goals, because his defensive play was passive, is one way to look at it. I know I talked about him being passive defensively, and you could see it. You could see him just kind of meandering around the ice when the puck's going in his own net. And I understand that there are some offensive players that do that, but it's forgivable when you say, you know what, but he had 2 goals that night, so, these things happen defensively. But when he wasn't scoring, it made it all the more obvious. And then anytime he got bumped down the lineup, where he'd be playing bottom 6 minutes, the argument was, if Laine's going to score, you have to give him big minutes. He has to be on a top line. I remember the argument being that they were punishing him, they're moving him down the lineup. He's way too talented to be that far down the lineup. That was the argument at the time. And so he had enough goals by the end of the year to reach 30, which again is respectable. The following season, 2019-2020, before that season starts, I did a video in September 2019 on the ongoing saga. Because at this point we're asking, does he want to be in Winnipeg? There was already plenty of talk about whether or not he wanted to stay in Winnipeg. He only signs a 2-year extension when his entry-level contract is done, which signaled to a lot of people he did not want to stay with the Winnipeg Jets, right? So, 2019-2020, plays 68 games that year, 28 goals, 35 assists, 63 points. Respectable totals, but again, it's out there, this conversation about whether or not he wants to be with the Jets. So, 2020, of course, we have the pause, and then you have the bubble playoffs where Winnipeg loses in the qualifying round. And 2020, 2021, well, before the season's officially started, January 4th of 2021, Patrik Laine's sitting there at a microphone being asked about his agent, Mike Liut, saying Laine wants out of Winnipeg. He wasn't denying it, and he was kind of just saying, I'm here to play hockey, so we're going to play and team this and team that. But it was pretty obvious that he wanted out and that it was just a matter of time. So he plays the one game with the Jets, 2 goals and an assist for 3 points, and then he's traded on January 23rd. So less than 3 weeks after Laine sits there and says, I'm here to be a Jet, it's fine. But again, he didn't deny what Mike Liut said either. He didn't say, I don't know what he's talking about, I'm going to talk to him. So he was traded January 23rd in a trade that ends up being fascinating looking back anyways, right? Traded with Jack Roslovic to Columbus in exchange for a 2022 third-round pick and Pierre-Luc Dubois, or as he wants to be called now in LA, PL Dubois. We'll see if that catches on. But what's interesting with that, of course, is since that trade, Dubois ends up leaving Winnipeg. Winnipeg gets a pretty good haul. So now what it is for Laine, they get a 2022 third-round pick, as well as Kupari, as well as Velarde, and Iafallo. I think you'll take that when you look at what's happened with Laine. So he gets to Columbus, And the one thing with Columbus is it's not a team known for having a lot of 50-point producers and 50 goal scorers. So after arriving in Columbus, there are some struggles. 45 games, 10 goals, 11 assists, 21 points. So not a fantastic start. And again, the conversation gets to he needs to be with good players if he's going to produce. So there's always this argument in hockey that I find fascinating. And I'm just saying this purely from a point of view of somebody who makes YouTube videos and puts them up for all you fine people on the internet to discuss. There are players who can make it happen by themselves. There are the Connor McDavids, the Sidney Crosbys. It's usually a center who can go out there and dictate the game and say, everybody's going to get on my back, my line mates, we're going to score, we're going to get the game, we're going to win the game, and I'm going to do this. And then there are the other players who need that line mate that's going to help them and electrify them and really get them going, right? So one example I would use right now, a really high-scoring player in the NHL is JT Miller. If JT Miller was playing in a city like Columbus or just somewhere where he's with line mates that aren't maybe as talented as who he's playing with in Vancouver, would he be amongst the league leaders in scoring? No. But if you put Connor McDavid almost anywhere else, would he still be one of the league leaders in scoring? I would say yes, personally. And there are players who are like that. No matter where Gretzky went, he was still very effective and very good because he was Wayne Gretzky. But not every player can do that. So 2021-2022, he plays 56 games with the Columbus Blue Jackets. 26 goals, 30 assists, 56 points. July 22nd of 2022, he signed a 4-year extension with Columbus. And this was while there were discussions about whether or not he was happy, what kind of contract is he going to go for, and he gets a 4-year deal, which again, by 80 standards, 90 standards, that was, standard. But by today's standards, that's sort of a wishy-washy contract. It's such a weird world we live in. Anything less than 8 years, and fans throw their arms in the air and go, I guess he doesn't want to be here. If I signed a contract to be somewhere for 4 years, I'm pretty sure I want to stick around. But Laine, after signing that deal last season, plays 55 games, 22 goals, 30 assists, 52 points. This season, he's played 9 games, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. One issue now with Laine is that he does get injured pretty regularly, and he does miss time, right? So 471 games in his career thus far. He has reached 200 goals exactly, 182 assists, 382 points. His totals are very respectable, right? Having 200 goals in your career already, very solid. By the time he's retired, he may very well be around that 400 goal mark, but he has to get it started again. Last year, 22 goals in 55 games. That is a far cry from his second year in the NHL with 44 goals in 82 games. From 36 goals in 73 games as a rookie. So the productive side of things in Columbus has dropped off from where it was in Winnipeg. And in Winnipeg, it was clear he wasn't happy. And I don't know if Laine right now is going to be looking at this healthy scratch and saying, I'm going to motivate myself and start scoring again, or if we're going to be talking about Laine at the end of the year and the fact that he has an $8.7 million cap hit until 2026 and say, you know what, that contract's aging really, really badly. And I remember at the time that it was signed, there were some who said, this is great, this is fine, he's a goal scorer, he'll get it back. And there were some who said he's not going to live up to the contract. And I would say he hasn't thus far. But it is fascinating because there will always be those who say Laine is an elite goal scorer in the NHL. I'm not saying he's not. Again, he has 200 goals, but he's never had a 50-goal season. He has not, when you look at goal rate, he was in the top 10 in the NHL his first 2 seasons in goals per game. He hasn't been top 10 since then. So I think Laine's a good goal scorer who's a good player. I don't think he works as a center either. I remember during the summer when they talked about him moving to center, I thought, I don't know if that's going to work because he's got 7 years of NHL experience as a winger. So, I mean, if he has played center before, he hasn't done it for a long time. And when you're playing center, you're driving the line. Center is much more difficult than playing on the wing. And so it just felt like this could look brilliant or it could look like a disaster. I don't think they're in a position to scratch him often. I don't think they're in a position where they can afford to tick him off. I also don't think that when he's not producing, they can afford to have him in the top 6. This is a really tough position to put yourself in because, again, Laine is not a defensive stalwart. Laine is not going to be a really, really solid two-way forward. It's not his game. He's a sniper. He goes out there and scores goals. So what do you do with a guy who's a sniper who isn't scoring goals and doesn't provide the defensive coverage you need from guys who are going to be in your bottom six? Like, the way that hockey works now is you have to have speed and talent on all four lines. But your bottom six guys have to have that defensive proficiency. There's the term I was looking for. And Laine doesn't suit that profile. So it feels like with the contract, you kind of have to play him. You have to have him play through this drought that he's in, and he's been in for a while. But what does that do to your team's prospects? When they're already 4-11-4 on the season, and you need to turn things around, how do you do that? You've got Johnny Gaudreau, who has played better over the last 10 days than he did to start the season, but his numbers aren't great. So then it becomes a matter of, if Laine had, let's just say Toronto had been absolutely just, they decided we're going to be crazy. We're going to pass on Austin Matthews. We're going to draft Laine. Would Laine's numbers have looked better in Toronto than they've looked in Winnipeg and Columbus? Where you would assume in Toronto, he would have ended up playing with a lot of the guys that are there now. He would have had elite line mates. Would his numbers have been better? Or would we have seen the same kind of trajectory? If he had been drafted by the Leafs and gone through these rough down periods, and the defensive play, I don't think would have worked with Toronto fans and the Toronto media being as you know, almost Zapruder film level of slowing everything. It's an old reference, don't worry about it. But it is crazy to me that Laine has the amount of talent he does, and he clearly has the talent. And yet we're at this weird place where you have to ask yourself, how does this get fixed? How does this get resolved? Is he a Columbus Blue Jacket right up until 2026? Like, if this team has a season where they win, say, 20 games, everything's miserable, is Laine going to commit to the team and say, I'm here for my contract, I'm here till 2026, I want to be part of the solution? Or will we see him wanting to trade out? Like, this is his fourth year now in Columbus. So will he want out or will he want to stay? And then if he does say, you know what, I kind of want to look for the exit, does the conversation become Laine, which it did with Dubois, right? With Dubois, he wanted out of Columbus and then he wanted out of Winnipeg. So now that he's in LA, the jokes write themselves of, yeah, but does he really want to be in LA? So if Laine wants out of Columbus, will the conversation be Laine wanting out of a second team, or will it be no one wants to play in Columbus, which I've talked about before with both Winnipeg and Columbus. There are players signed to long-term contracts by both organizations who do want to be there. Good players as well. But when a player comes out publicly and says, I kind of want out of here, like you've got with the Zadorov situation in Calgary, right? So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. What should Columbus do with Laine? What will fix this? What will get him going? Do you just throw him on the first line and say, he'll figure it out? Of course, you could have Jenner in between Gaudreau and Laine and see if it works, right? You could put Fantilli in the middle. Something. But what do you do? How do you fix it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Where do you think the issue lies? Is it with Laine or is it with the team he's playing with? Again, as he played for the Jets, he played for Columbus. They don't suit him. So if he played for the Rangers or if he played somewhere else, it'd work, it'd click, and suddenly we would see that 40-goal scorer back. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.